welcome to all of you. Thank you for being with us today. As you know, I'm going to now mute every one of us. And then you will all be able to ask questions through the chat box whenever you feel like it. It's going to be very live and easy to connect. And then Alexandra is going to start a presentation, and then she has two guests. So Alexandra, welcome to, and I'm going to unmute Alexandra for now. So Alexandra, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us today. You are French. You are native Parisian with all the glamour that it means. We all know. But you have also, you know, not only glamour, because you have also graduated from Harvard Business School, which is fabulous. You had a life in finance and investment, and in fashion investment, creating a brand in Buenos Aires. And you have been mostly living since probably 25 years in Buenos Aires. So since 2000, you have started to build an art collection because you've met all the artists of your generation, of the young artists that started the emerging scene of Buenos Aires. And then you've been a very active and supportive collector with the SAM Art Project institution that we all know because we organized here a lunch with Sandra and Catherine Petigat, Sandra Egedus and Catherine Petigat. You have also, you're very near also to Albert de Galbert with the Maison Rouge. And so today you will present a short history, I don't know, we'll try, of the Argentinian art scene through first a wider presentation and then your collection. You have invited Federico Curutchet, who is the artistic director of Barro. Barro is a gallery in Buenos Aires. They have opened another gallery, an office in New York, and they participate in Freeze as well in Los Angeles. So Federico will talk about two artists, and then at the end we have the pleasure to welcome and have Catalina Swinburn, who is going to join the webinar, and she's a fabulous artist I've discovered, and she's going to have an exhibition here in London that you will all be able to see in November at Cromwell Place. So Alexandra, do you want me to share the screen? And yes, okay. So I will share the screen now with your presentation, and then we can start with just a minute. Yeah, presentation is here. Good. Just to open. It's a big PDF. It's a big, no, it's not a PDF.
Do you see my screen? No.
Oh, did you share your screen?
I would like to share my screen. I would like to
no,
share. Okay.
Oh, you want to share your screen?
Yes, if it's possible.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing mine. Sorry, I thought you wanted me to share the presentation. Sorry. Go. Can you wait? Can you just a minute? I don't know what's going on here. I have made. Okay. Yes, you can now.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Do you see it?
Yes, we see it.
Do you see it well?
Yeah, full screen. Okay. Yeah.
Full screen. Okay. Good afternoon for everybody. I'm in Buenos Aires. It's 12 o'clock. Let's first set the stage. I think it's important to remind few facts about the specific of Argentina. Argentina is definitely. Sorry, do you see me or do you see my whole screen?
Yes, we do see you.
So Argentina is really the south of the south. And that's very important, I think, in relation to what Argentina produced artistically, because it has been with a lot of Europeans. You know, it's the second country in the world after the US in terms of immigration. Mainly were Spanish and Italians. So being the south of the south, but with this specific relationship to Europe, it's a different country from Brazil or Mexico, where you had a lot of autochthons. You had fewer in Argentina, and then through the campaign of desert, they were mostly all killed. So it's a specific relationship with geography, being far from Europe, but having dialogue with Europe. Sorry, let's go to. Oh. What's happening? Oh. Sorry, just.
If you.
No, something is happening which is not. Fun. Let's second part. You may remember that Argentina and Buenos Aires in particular was the Paris of Latin America in the 20s and in the 30s, and again very important because it projects itself as what is going on. I think you should go. I'm so sorry. I don't know.
I'm just going to ask some Alexandra. Do you see the screen or not? Do you see the pictures on the screen or not?
Yeah, but I don't know. I see, but I don't know what.
I can move them. Do you want me to move them?
Yeah. No, I know what's happening. I know. Sorry. Let's try once more.
Yeah.
And then you go. Yeah, okay. So Buenos Aires is the Paris of Latin America in the 20s and 30s with a lot of interaction on architecture, interior design, arts with Europe. What is very important about the contemporary art scene today is the still very important legacy of Borges. As you know, Borges was about magic realism in the 40s. And he stands for fantasy. All his theme is about time, simultaneity, labyrinth. This is totally opposite of what actually was happening in Europe about the European existentialism. But Borges today, in what we're going to see in the artistic scene of visual art, is still very important. So I wanted you to remind this legacy. We have as well an amazing artist in terms of legacy, which is Xul Solar, which is quite now recognized in the US and which should be more recognized. Of the 40s, he was one of the best friends of Borges. In terms of relevancy of Argentine artists, we can remind that artists of the 60s are actually very much linked to the international scene already. Marta Minurin on one side, on the left, and Julio Leparc on the right. Both still are very meaningful and immense artists internationally today. We see Marta actually with the Parthenon she did again for Documenta in 2017. It's a piece about that she created in Buenos Aires when the country became a democratic country in '83. So it's Parthenon des Livres. where everybody sends her books from all over the place, and it's actually for documenta the real scale of the Parthenon. She's going to have an amazing exhibition in Tate, Liverpool in October. So maybe you want to go with a BNC club. She's over 70 and she's still an amazing artist. Julio Leparc, that I'm sure a lot of you have seen two amazing exhibitions in Paris, both Dynamo at Grand Palais and then Palais Tokyo. He's just 90 years old. He was living in Paris, related to op art, Vasarely. So those two artists are different from Borges, but they are very relevant today. In the 80s and 90s, democracy came into the country in 83. You have those three artists who are like the father or the big brother of the artists I have in the collection. And Guillermo Cuitca, internationally very important, totally linked to Borges. It's more painter. It's about was narrative, about melancholy. His work is related to Pinot Bausch, a lot very European mind, but very Borgian. Jorge Maki, as well, very important artist, conceptual and poetic. And Leandro Ehrlich, that you may have seen in Paris and in other places. It was with an amazing installation in the Bon Marché. So I wanted to remind those because the influence of in the conceptualism of poetic, which is what my collection is about, is very much related to those artists. The Buenos Aires ecosystem, actually, when I arrived, was not that rich in terms of institution, but it had grown after the 2000. And now we have wonderful institutions, including Mamba on the left below, which is a public museum, which is led by my dear friend curator Victoria Norton, who was who made one of the best Biennale de Lyon in Paris, when Le Monde titled that it was the first time that Biennale de Lyon was better than Venice Biennale. We have the Malba, the PROA, and CCK. And we have a Foundation Arteba, which I'm happy to be in the international committee, which is very important because our fair, our commercial fair, is actually managed by Arteba, which is a foundation, non-for-profit. And because we don't have so many collectors, what is unique about this fair, which is very important with 80 galleries, 40 is coming from outside, and we manage to make through sponsorship two things. First, a lot of curation of a top curator on Latin American art, curate within the fair or around the fair. And second, it's really a meeting place for all the curators from Tate, MoMA, Guggenheim, etc., who go to this fair, but which is like an intellectual fair. I hope you will come one day. The soft power of Argentina as well is very important through our female curators that now for Latin America, the MoMA is Ines Kattenstein, which just been named last year. Who is Argentine, so she's at the MoMA now. We have for the Reina Sofia, Anna Longoni, and we have for the MoLA in Los Angeles, Gabriela Urtiaga. So that's our soft power. You know that the country had a lot of economic problems, but culturally, we are still at the top. One of the illustration of being at the top is Art Basel Cities, which actually Arteba was very instrumental in getting this agreement between the city, and Art Basel created a program for Buenos Aires, making come to Buenos Aires curators, collectors from all over the world, and we had a big program in the city, curated by Cecilia Alemani, which is going to create a Biennale de Venezia in 2 years. As always, Buenos Aires is related to visual art, but to literature, and the name of curation all over the city was hopscotch in relation to Rayuela, the novel of Cortázar that he has written in Paris. You had international artists like Mauricio Catlan on the right, in the middle, Eduardo Basualdo, or Luciana Lamotte, another Argentine artist. Okay, so it was pour planter le décor. Now, welcome to my home. Since internet in my home is not very reliable, and since we're going to make a book on the collection, I have beautiful photos, so I will share with you part of my collection, which is a result. I believe I'm more an activist than a collector. My reference is really Sandra Mullier-Egedus, but I have this collection that came as a consequence of my interaction with the artists. And when you know very well a place and very well the artist, usually you have very good pieces. So it was an ex post that I realized it was really a collection with very good pieces and relevant artists. This is my home in Buenos Aires with my 2 sons who share with me all the fun and interesting conversation with the artist all over their life at home. This is again my home. So you see part of the pieces. What I try to do is, because my collection is really a snapshot of the scene of Buenos Aires in those 2 decades, is try to organize it through two axes. One is poetic narration. So again, let's think about Borges, let's think about Jorge Maki, and about this poetic narration. Nicola Bacal is a young artist. You can see the atmosphere. This piece is called Moon Alphabet, very poetic at that time. Sebastian Gordin, another artist, again, it's a very moonlight, fantasy-driven mise en scène. He had an amazing retrospective, and this piece was included by Victoria Norton. Let's go to 3 other artists that as well, I would say, come to this type of environment. And I wanted to focus on the 3rd one, which is Fernanda Laguna, where you see this painting with a hole. Why I wanted to zoom in on her? Because if you see the painting like that, maybe you say it's decorative, or, you know, it's nice, it's beautiful, but what it is, it's much more than that. Actually, Fernanda Laguna is a social activist, she's a poet, and one of her standpoints is that she had a gallery called Beauty and Happiness. And the standpoint in a country where you had an economic disaster in 2001 was actually to give beauty, both small gesture of beauty and happiness, and collaborating with children in the shanty towns, collaborating with paper collectors in a lot of social programs. So maybe her practice of making art and life is one actually of the most political way to resist and to include. She's a cult artist in Buenos Aires. She's now in the collection of the Guggenheim of Patricia Cisneros, and very much liked by international curator. So what seems like decorative, I don't have time to go through the other artists. And beauty, actually beauty is a standpoint existentially and politically. That's very much Buenos Aires. Let's go to Adrienne Vijar. This is not in my collection. I have a piece from this exhibition. This exhibition of Adrienne Vijar-Horace, which is one of the most important Argentine artists worldwide. You may have heard of him, the Faidon book, written by Hans Ulrich Orbis. I just been issued in London in February. I encourage you to look at it. He had an amazing exhibition at the Serpentine Gallery. I don't know if some of you went to see it a few years ago. Then the Roof Met Top, amazing exhibition, Istanbul Biennale. And before that, he was at Tuileries through Sandra Mulliez and Sam Foundation with some, what do you say, in the Jardin des Tuileries. So what I wanted to, he's at Marianne Goodman, and he's one of the most important artists, young artists worldwide. What you see now, and I want to illustrate my way to collect through the relationship with Adrian. He was actually the assistant of Jorge Maki, so you see the affiliation. And he started to make some interesting piece, he draws, and then came at 28 years, this unique exhibition, which is the foundation of all the work he did at the Met, at the Serpentine, at the Venice Biennale, which is this exhibition, so in 2008. Clearly, what he is doing, it's a fantasy driven, but it's basically asking always the question if an extraterrestre would come back in the future to do an archaeological tour sur la Terre, what would he find? So it's really building an archaeology of the future, and a very new formal way to make sculpture, which is his main way to express himself, which is with clay and cement, but it's always unstable. So this was at 28. When you come to a gallery that was put into chamber, you see the force vitale and the force creative at this age. For me, it was really like an epiphany. I knew the guy, but not that much. There was no way I could not get part of this installation. And that's the way that formally Adriana put it at home. I was lucky enough to have one of his vitrines, the first one actually in a home, because it's very big and very heavy. Which is a mixture of potpourri. We have the Christ figure, but it's related to a manga aesthetic. We have a mutant. It was her girlfriend at this moment, but she has a different body than we have today. And he installed it at home. This actually is a very important piece because he did the Christ again, the Christ in the Serpentine. Through the installation of this piece at home, we start to have dialogues on French literature and philosophy, and to see how the guy was just amazing at 28 years. He asked me to have artistic dialogue with him every 2 weeks through a call. Sharing about Michel Houellebecq in that moment and other and then French philosopher. Then I helped him to go to some biennale. He didn't even have the money for him and his team to install in this installation, and he had this vital force that he would do whatever to go with them. This vitality, this desire to take the world apart was amazing. So he's a unique artist, and I encourage you to see the book. So that's a small aquarelle from Adrian. Eduardo Basualdo, an artist that Anne-Pierre knows, it was, and maybe some of you, thanks to the SAM Foundation, he had a piece at Palais Tokyo. He he's in the Venice Biennale as well, big installation, usually. It's, as you see, poetic. Eduardo Basualto comes from the theater, so it's a lot about theater installations. And again, I met Eduardo when he had no galleries after Biennale de Pontevedra, where he made a big installation for Victoria Norton. And he created for me out of the big installation these small pieces, which is obviously related again to fantasy, but more to fairy tales, but as well to the liminal world of Borges. No? Two drawings. He's a very amazing drawer. And then as he grows as an artist, he went to a more synthetic, less narrative work. So you can see Narciso on the left, which is actually an installation which is beautiful when it's come and lighted. And then he went to much more conceptual and close to Latin America conceptualism, pieces like the door. It's actually the first door he did, then he did a door in the Venice Biennale 2 years ago or 4 years ago, I don't remember. This artist, what is interesting is obviously I follow him since he was very young. Is again my way of collecting. In that case, I was able to share with him a lot of text and thinking. In his case, a lot about Bettelheim, psychanalysis of fairy tales that he had not read. Eduardo knows that today we are talking. He sends hello to everybody because he knows some, I think he knew you and Pierre. He's going back now. He went to this very synthetic work, going back actually to more poetic. Those two artists are great, but I will pass. I go to what would be a poetic narrative, but related to nature. Again, this piece seems so beautiful, but it has a political meaning because Charlene Johnson, an Argentine artist who lives in Berlin, does all over the world. This is Vo's video where it takes the population of this those amazing place in the world, but those population, local population, had been actually because of contemporary life, they don't live and enjoy the nature of their community. So he put, for example, in Salar de Uyuni, Bolivia, those guys, you see this beautiful photo, it's a still of the video. Those persons actually are the Salar de Uyuni community, but they are not used and to go and appreciate the beauty of this salar. And every of these person is on the block of salt. And he does these videos which have been showed in MoMA, in Pompidou. So it's about men and nature. Mathias Duville, that Anne-Pierre knows, and I know you help him actually with Sandra Egedus to make his exhibition at École des Beaux-Arts in Paris. This is again about catastrophic nature. My way of collecting, again, I met Matthias when it was at Beka Kwiatka. He had no galleries, so that's the first work. Some artist, Pablo Siquia, tell me, this is the guy, go and talk with him. The second piece, which was his first exhibition in a gallery, was curated by Royere Maki. And then we go to the core of his art, which is talking about those, it's like mental landscape before a disaster. So that's a piece.
It's actually, it's the piece you have behind you, no?
Exactly. This is my favorite piece.
Uh-huh.
He has only two drawings where he has human inside, and it's actually young in his career, and I have one of those two, and this will go with me in Paris. I just love it. And it's again, I think you can see it's, well, it's melancholic, there is tension. This is a very important piece as well, that you have a similar piece at Reina Sofia. This is a different material. He's always an amazing drawer, but he's using more materials. Now I'm going to leave to Federico Curutchet, who is a gallerist of Matthias, talk about Matthias and the new project of Matthias.
Just a moment, Federico. Yeah, okay. Federico, we can't hear you. I know, I see you, but I can't hear you. Wait. What's wrong? I don't know why you are mute. Okay, is it good? Yeah. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you, Alexandra, for the invitation, and also Pierre, congrats for this initiative. I think it's very important in this, especially in this context, to keep in touch. Well, Barro, now we are seeing an image of the gallery, the last exhibition of Matías Dubil here in Buenos Aires. Barro is a contemporary art gallery who works with 13 Argentinian artists, and Matías, of course, is one of them. And we have a location here in Buenos Aires, and also we have recently opened an office in New York. This space, as you can see, is a very powerful space. It's a old industrial warehouse, and it's about 500 meters. And Matías, in this occasion, this is the Romance Atómico is the name of the exhibition. In this occasion, he created a few sculptures, big, large sculptures, like 3 meters tall. And this exhibition was created by Anissa Touati, which is a very important curator from France, actually. She worked with Marc Olivier, for example, and also she worked in Art Basel and the Venice Biennale. I mean, she's very, very important. And in this occasion, she created with Matías a kind of atmosphere. As Alexandra said, Matías used to work with different atmospheres, strange and like a catastrophe, you know. And there are always a connection between his drawings and the space. Because Matías worked with different medias, like sculpture, drawings, videos, but always he looks how the work reacts with the space. In this occasion, in this installation view, you can see the different sculptors and the feelings, the sensations of being here in Barro. Actually, I'm here, right? Right now at the gallery backroom. The sensation, it was a kind of cold sensation, but also a kind of warm sensation, because the sculptures was made by resin and wood and different natural materials, because Matías always worked with natural landscapes. As Alexandra said, there are only 2 works with human figures. So you always will see a landscape in Matías. If we go to the next slide,
Yes.
We can see also, no, the other installation view of Romance.
No.
Okay, because at the back it was a video, a large video. But here we are watching Desert Means Oceans, which was the last institutional exhibition of Matías in Los Angeles. created by Stephanie Hessler, a German curator, very well known too. In this occasion, he created these papers, this sanguine on paper. It's very beautiful because this strange atmosphere, in this case, has this red component, which is very particular, the texture of the paper. You know, you can see a sanguine is an oxide derivative, so you can see the grain on the paper, which is very beautiful because these landscapes are about, I mean, the one that we see on the back is about 5 meters, so it's big. And the next slide, for example, you're gonna see a kind of preview. This is a render because this will be the exhibition in Fortabat Foundation here in Buenos Aires. It's a kind of anthology exhibition because Matthias is gonna show different series. As you can see, the room with the sanguines there, but also these fishing, I don't know how to say in English, the fishing.
Yeah, it's not the net, it's the, yeah.
Okay. Don't worry, but you can see there the shape of the sculptures. Mm-hmm. And on the other room, as Alexandra said, it's gonna be these hard works. Matthias here used painting, but the most important part of this work is that he created a kind of draw, taking out the material, you know. He impact with the hammer to the harbor, and then he create these night landscapes. This exhibition is created by Gabriel Pérez Barreiro, which is one of the most important curators. He's a Spanish curator, but he used to work in important institutions like MoMA, for example. And we hope with this, when this pandemic situation over, we can see the exhibition. Mm-hmm. So this is I think that this is the last.
So Federico, Matthias actually he's a painter, but he paints and he makes a lot of big installation, but he paints only on paper. He doesn't paint on canvas, does he?
No, actually he's a drawer mostly. He works with drawings, but as I said, I mean, he's trying always to connect the drawings with the spaces, with the different spaces. It's like a site-specific drawer, you know, because he works actually in very large scale works, and obviously that kind of works has a particular impact because the scale. So he always worked with the space, and he tried to understand the context of the work. So that's the reason why we can find videos, sculptures, paintings, or drawings, mostly drawings, in different exhibitions.
Okay, thank you.
Let's go to, I just wanted to add that I think that today in 2020, because of the zeitgeist we all have about ecology and what is, you know, the work of Matthias takes another dimension today that maybe 15 years ago, that we did not realize how it was prophetic, all those disaster and poetic at the same time landscape. Let's go to Gabriel Valenci. I will go very quick, which is an amazing photographer reflecting on the photography and the use of power. Actually, on the right, the woman here captures actually in this series, capture image referring to sex offered in internet as an allusion to the strategy used by Al-Qaeda members to encrypt their codes when they were planning the attack to the World Trade Center. So, and it's just a moment of this sex video when the girl actually realized she's not going to be a model, but she's going to be a prostitute, and she said yes. And it's about, you know, the loss of innocence of this woman and the loss of innocence of the world in Al-Qaeda. Mm-hmm. So let's go. We go to a second block, which is abstract poetics. That's Lucio Dor. Let's focus on Pablo Siquier, which is a very important artist for Argentina, related to geometric abstraction, to Buenos Aires. He started with a series on ornament on the left, which had to do with ornamental element found in the urban architecture of Buenos Aires. And then creating on the right those false perspective and mental architecture, which has always unstable. As well, it has to do with labyrinth, you know. Marcelo Pombo, a very cult artist of the 90s. Let's go now to Thomas Saraceno, that you must, I guess, know. Maybe you enjoy seeing his work at the Palais Tokyo. Thomas is Argentine. Actually, came from a faraway province. He's an architect. Now he lives in Berlin. He's a multidisciplinary artist, and he's working always with biology, scientists, architects, engineer, you name it, collaborate with NASA, MIT. He has this voracious, I would compare his personality with the one of Adrian. It just is so voracious about life, knowing, and transform all his paper, scientific paper he reads every day, all nights, into a poetic, artistic installation. His really goal is to make us feel more collaborative together and to live in a more collaborative way with all the human beings and with the animals, can be the spider. No? So in the first part, it's a piece which is about Airport City, which is about his utopia of flying, of creating a flying metropolis, because in the future there won't be enough place in Earth to be all together. So this is a small module that I can have in an apartment, but obviously is usually use installation. So from this module you had a huge installation. On the second part is as well one of his primary work for the installation he made at the roof Met Top. And actually those amazing architectural construction came from the cells of the soap, the chemical analysis of a soap is done by those cells. So those are two works of Thomas, of two early works of important series, I would say. And actually the first one I bought at Frieze.
You would date them from what dates? When did you buy them?
Very good. I don't remember. I don't have in my fiche.
Like 10 years ago, 15?
Yes. I mean, you know, it's like
around.
Fun. Yeah. I get now everybody after the Palais Tokyo, everybody come in my home and say, "Oh, so you have a Saraceno." Before, for 10 years, nobody would say anything except Victoria Norton. You know, I mean, you know. So yeah, I always love. One of my love is to discover young artists. In this case, it was through a very important collector of Thomas Saraceno, Juan and Pat Vergés, that you know. I can name them. They have an amazing collection. I knew already Thomas Saraceno through Biennale de Lyon and so on, but through Juan, actually, the gallery didn't want to sell me the piece I have on the left. They didn't want to sell me, and it's Juan who said, please, let her have it. And the second piece, this same gallery came to Buenos Aires, and I was able to buy it. And again, nobody in Buenos Aires would say, "Oh, who is this guy?" No.
Yeah, yeah.
That's part of what I like to do. It's the same in business. When you're an entrepreneur, is find talents and watch them grow. Luciana Lamonte, amazing artist, which was at Maison Rouge, as well as the creation of Cecilia Alemany. Now it's a blog, it's about the girls, but you have different. I think this is a very poetic part as well. She's very much into installation. I want to make detail. I just like to put the two together, which has nothing to do. Nicola Constantino, an amazing artist from Barro. I won't go into details, but it's about human fur, you know, about all the speech on consumption society, and actually about machism, because actually this false skin is actually made out of the pezón, comme on dit, le sein d'un homme. So the woman is wearing actually the skin of a man.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the Petites Filles, les Petites Sœurs de Louise Bourgeois, as a curator was telling me on those artists. Marina de Caro, that participated with you to the Parcours Saint-Germain. She's actually making, she's an amazing artist, multidisciplinary. She's making an opera with an important institution in France now.
Oh.
Anna Gajardo, an extraordinary artist. I will, and she's one of my best friends. I really, she's Argentine, she lives in Mexico. As well, it doesn't seem political, it is political. On the left, sorry, it's Assets. The name of the piece is Assets. It was a big installation, actually. It's about her own experience as a woman artist in Buenos Aires, cannot, you know, like my own only assets in life are the quotidian object that I live with and with my different partners in life. So it's about a recollection. The second part, which was almost postcard, was actually called Identikit. It was at the Biennale created, done by Victoria Norton, and it's very political. Anna is always speaking about with the minorities, and it's about traite des blanches. How do you say in English? Traite des blanches in Argentina. You know, that prostitution network, when they capture young girls in some province, but even Buenos Aires, and they send him for prostitution or in Buenos Aires or in Europe. So actually all those postcards, she went to those families of disappeared women, and she asked to each family what was to resuscite the spirit of your child, of your daughter, what was the preferred object, affective object of your daughter. And so, as you see, there is a postcard of the Nounours, for example, and on the other side of the postcard, you have the story of the disappeared woman. So I think it's absolutely very poetic and political at the same time. Adriana Bustos, who is a photograph. This is a series which is Anthropology of the Mule. As you may know, I guess in English it's the same. The mule in Cordoba, in a poor part of Cordoba or Argentina, you still use a mule as, you know, to work. And to travel, but as well, the mule is the person that are sent by drug traffic in the plane with drugs in their body between Argentina and Europe. So she went to see all those women prisoners in their prisons because they had tried to be mules and to earn some money trafficking drugs to Europe. Actually, as you see, most of them, they are old women. You have a photo of this woman on the right. And she asked to all those prisoners, why did you accept to be a mule? In this case, it was a mother, and the dream was to pay for the operation of a daughter. So what does the artist is to paint the dream of the prisoner on the right, but it's gray because it didn't happen, and there is some humor or ironies that, you know, you paint again the setting of the operation, but in color with the mural. So it's a very political and poetic and humorous. On a tragedy, you can make some beauty and as well some smile.
Yeah.
Amalia Ullmann.
That's the last piece of the collection, right? Now?
Then Catalina, but yes,
okay.
Amalia Ullmann is, let's get Federico talk about it. What I can say is I love to have my boîte en valise de Duchamp. For me, it's the trench coat of Amalia, which is this piece. So when I travel a lot, this is actually a piece that travels with me and I can wear it. Federico, can you talk about this artist, which is...
Yes, Amalia Ullmann is one of the most prominent young artists from Argentina, but actually she was born in Argentina but raised in Spain. She studied in St. Martin College in London, and now she's living in New York. So she's a kind of airport-based artist, which is interesting because you can see it in her work. She worked with social stratification, cultural capital, class imitation, and seduction, because she's very beautiful. And as you can see do you have the other slide of excellence? As you can see here, for example, he's one of the most iconic series of her. It's called Excellences and Perfections, this series, which is a series of photographs. She created actually one of the first web masterpiece. She created a false profile in her Instagram account for 4 months, and at the first time she showed her as a model, as a kind of it girl, cute girl, working with this concept of seduction and provocation, you know, and trying to reproduce the stereotypes of the typical American girl. At the end of the performance, she confessed that it was all a fake. So the people start to react in different ways, creating a kind of debate between fiction and reality, and, you know, tradition. I mean, what she did. I mean, it was the question of the work, and she's trying to, in this case and in all her work, she's trying to put uncomfortable to the people, you know, to create a kind of reflect about different social behaviors. As you can see, she also worked with the space. She's a kind of site-specific artist, actually. She works by projects. And the series that we see at the beginning, International Intrigue, the trench coats, it's very interesting because in this case, she created a kind of system to transport the work around the world. As Alexandra said, I mean, the idea is to wear these clothes, these trench coats, which is a piece bodied in Los Angeles at the second market from Los Angeles, but fabricated in China or you know, Thailand, places which is very difficult I mean, which has difficult worker conditions. And then she as an Argentinian and European artist, she bought it there and create a female profile, a female aesthetic into a men trench coat. So all of that system that she created is to talk about the difference between female and men, between different power relations, and it's interesting because you cannot see it, but they are still there. You know, that relation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go to the last one and to our guest, Catalina Swinburn. Catalina is an amazing Chilean artist who lives between Buenos Aires and London. And actually, when I was the CEO of Tramondo, fashion designer who artistic director is Martin Schurba, and Martin Schurba is a textile artist. I invite Catalina, knowing her work, and she's as well, she has everything. She's as beautiful as an amazing artist, and I invite her to be the brand ambassador of the brand, I mean, and to collaborate with Martin Schurba on some art pieces. Catalina, will you start to explain these pieces and your work?
Catalina?
So now it's her
I have to unmute Catalina. That's why she first. Yeah. Hello.
So we have to go to her presentation now.
Can we see her presentation? I have opened my screen.
Mine is over, so it's just all yours.
Okay, but can you see it on your screen? Because for me, I see it. Where is Catalina? Unmute. Catalina, can you hear us? Oh, no, wait. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Can you see, can everybody see the screen or not?
We see your computer, but not I don't see the presentation.
You don't see the presentation? How come? Yeah, square. Maybe you were still with the screen of Alexandra, you have to stop sharing, I think.
Yeah, yes. How do you use that?
Yeah, stop. And then I can share again. Can you see it now or not? Still no? Oh. Aha. Aha. Wait. I said multiple participants and share. Here? No? Toujours pas? Comment ça se fait? Zut alors. Ah. Allez, Alexandra, do you have the presentation or not?
No, Catalina has it.
Oh, no, of course.
No, I have it actually. I have it, but yes, I just take it, don't worry. I'm going to do it. I don't
know, yeah.
Kata send it, she's always very professional. I have it somewhere.
We always need technicians. Not always, but...
Catalina, why don't you present yourself? I'm looking for
Okay, well, I present myself. First of all, I want to thank Alexandra and Pierre for inviting me. But as I always say, I've been kind of adopted by the Argentinian somehow scene because, as you may know, I'm Chilean. But I feel somehow reflected with Amalia's description that Federico gave, because in a way, all my project talks about what I've called narratives of displacement. No, we are not longer, it's so difficult for us to identify with one geography, with one place, with one identity, and my whole work talks about these intersections and this space between definitions that in a way is how we build ourselves now in this time presence. So I think Alexandra's personal view regarding her collection that we've been looking through is the eye of someone from abroad, no, coming to make a collection in somewhere else place, which makes a very, very relevant in a different view for making a local collection from artists that are from a person that is from abroad.
Well, sorry, do you see my presentation?
Yes, we can see now. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Bueno, so this particular 4 images came out from this collaboration that I did with Martin Turba, organized and invited by Alexandra. Meanwhile, she was the CEO of Tramando, which is my favorite place to go shopping in Argentina. Because as you say, Martin is an artist of textile, and I was previously, so if you can go to the next slide. I am always, I've always been curious about any project that come to me as an invitation. At the past time, I was working on a series of what I call manifestation dresses. So you can go forward next. And these were some images that they were, I don't call them performances because people are not allowed to come to see me, but I call them art rituals because it's how I connect with my work. And this was a series of very, very long dresses that they have written phrases related to what I call art as an act of faith. And this was a particular image of linked to Argentina with the image of the Darwin cemetery of the Malvinas. And because being a Chilean living in Argentina and Malvinas, and I live also part in London, in a way, I think what also linked to what Alexandra has said, I consider my work as a bricolage, no? Because I've been living and working and traveling, so this was my own way of, my perspective of seeing the reality of each place I've been able to live on and with. So next. The interesting part of what Alexandra took me to do in Dubai, because we did this, what I call this ritual dress. That was a series of performance related of how women, in a way, are connected to these ancestral rituals, and how for me the textile was somehow a piece that could travel easily together, and they were also giving meaningful messages around the world. So it was a way to connect with other women, to connect to other cultures. And I was interested on, since ever, in ancestral memory, in archaeology, in ancestral geography, in regional memory. So that's how then the link of the new project and the new show that you will see in London, which has been 5 past years of my research. So we can go next. Alex, we can move forward. It started on the collect of on destroying and looking for books that will talk about this ancestral memory. So I started looking for books and collecting them, and then suddenly destroying them, just to make these investitures and these dresses of paper that I wear for my rituals, where they are a kind of armor that I use over me, and it's completely woven together as a process of a manual labor done in the studio. Yes, next, we can do next, where I have started to make a research on how identity and how is the heaviness of porting the layers of history and the archaic ways of identity over your shoulders. So I'm showing now some process of what I'm going to show and what is linked to this specific piece. So this will be a whole exhibition with all the pages that I have taken out from all the books that you see in this totem. That is going to be one of the main pieces, because it's like the vertebra, no, of the exhibition. And I've been disaggregating everything that is being on these books. This is a collection about archaic archaeology, and each piece is centered on displaced archaeology pieces, that they are not longer where they belong to be. So most of them are, they were in Persia, but now they're in the Louvre. They are not in, any longer where they need to be. So the idea of weaving these pieces together, we can go next, make me build these paper sculptures that they understand as this, because after I use them, I convert them into this archaeology piece, like a found object without a body, as an investiture that's been worn for a ritual. somewhere, you know, and the whole idea of it's to make a connection between different cultures, different borders, and to make somehow the spectator believe on something transcendence. So this specific piece is done with all different pieces of Persepolis clays. Here's the photo of the ritual itself, and then the piece is converted into an object. And this piece that you are seeing now it was the first paper cape I ever did, and it's the original, you know, that came out from the project we did in Dubai. It's made out of old maps, you know, old maps. So it's everything you see in the cape is out of one single atlas. It's an old Larousse of the 1940s. And it talks about this new idea, this new geography. So this piece is called an alternative landscape. So, and how do we port again over our shoulders the heaviness of actually what we are living now? Where are we now? Where should we be? Where's the border? How are we rebuilding and reconnecting the world together? So next. And this is how I make these pieces come to me, you know. So in a way, what I was thinking when Alexandra was talking, and for me, the presence of the human body and how you linked with spaces is very important to have it. For me, a recognition of a sign that will make me connect to the environment. So the way that I wear them is a way to make other one think about the heaviness of the concept somehow. And when this piece here it was going to go to Basel, Hong Kong, you know, that it never arrived, so it stays in my studio. And it's a piece called No Land, and it's done actually with all pieces of only oceans out of many old books of atlases. And in a way, again, it talks about, in a way, my project have been more and more linked to this kind of having an awareness to what is ancestral memory, to what is indigenous knowledge, and how, you know, in a way, my work is only taking out pages of books that are abandoned, you know, and so it's also a way to reconnect with things that, in a way, have been left behind, and you can give them a new form and to connect again to things that you think that are important. And next. Well, this is a detail, so you could see, well, this is kind of more of process, you know, and the process is quite long, and people are always interested in knowing, you know, there is a long process between collecting the book, finding what I want, cutting each piece, modeling the piece, weaving. So each piece took like, let's say, 2 months, no, to get ready.
But you make us work, Catalina. You don't wave yourself only. You make us work.
Yeah. I invite regularly people to come to my studio. I like them to say that this is a workshop, but it's a way to have a lot of free assistants to come and help to weave me. But they love it, and everybody loves coming. And this is a bit of appetizer that we plan to say, you know, for the show, that it should have been this week. So this is a very emotive soon for me, because I should be now presenting in London at Cromwell Place. So we should be all there probably. But this is a piece called Napi Asu. You know, this is an Elamite goddess, you know, and this is the sculpture which I found when I went on a trip to Paris in the Louvre in 2016. And so most of the pieces that are going to be on the show are these investitures made out of paper, out of the documentation of each pieces that I found after a long investigation on archaeology books all around the world, that I whipped together to build these capes, in a way for us to make think about the archaic contingency. So this is my presentation.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much, Catalina and Alexandra. I just wanted to know if some of you have questions for either Federico Curutchet, Catalina Swinburn, or Alexandra de Royere. I had a question actually a bit earlier that I want to that's from Marc Potier. So Marc is in is in Brazil. and Marc is, maybe he's not here anymore, but anyway, I don't see him. So the question is, what do you think, and maybe all of you you can answer, of the Biennale Sur in Buenos Aires? Is it a very important biennale, or
can I answer?
Yes.
Can I answer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then Marc can contact me. They are actually close friends who made it. I think it's a very innovative format that Los Rosami, which is a collector couple but action-driven, created. Biennale Sur is an amazing new way to do a biennale, which actually which is connecting all part of the world through virtual biennale. It's a virtual biennale where you have Zoom-like interaction, curation, talk, philosophical talk. And then you have some physical, obviously, occurrence in some countries, like in Buenos Aires, but as well, it can be a dialogue from south to south. In Dubai, it was actually, I think, a few months ago with Basualdo. So it's a very innovative format, which is totally COVID, but actually which makes sense. But then it's because it's innovative and new and young, and try to connect all together everything. You have some content which is great and some which is less. It's like a potpourri, but it's an extraordinary call to action that was made. And if he wants to have more details, he can call me.
Okay. Marc, any more question? Yes. No. Okay, good. So yes, actually, I have a question also for you, Alexandra. I was wondering when you have started collecting, because you know, you come from finance, and it's very interesting that just one day you arrived in Buenos Aires, and all of a sudden, you know, one thing led to another. And how did it started?
No, first, I thanks to my parents and family. They were not in contemporary art, but very intellectual Parisian, cosmopolitan family. And then it started when my passion with art started when my father gave me a book on Goya when I was 13. And then I went with him to the exhibition of Dali done by Jean-Hubert Martin, which was for me like an epiphany. And then, because I'm action driven, when that was at ESSEC, which is École d'Administration Business School in France, I created already a foundation with Edouard Levé, who became a photographer and a writer, a foundation for companies to make visible young artists. But guess who was our friend who was telling us who were the young artists? It was Nicolas Bourriaud, who founded later Palais Tokyo. So my commitment to contemporary art has been for very, very long time. When I was in banking in London, for the weekend, I would escape and go to the galleries. When I was in Spain, it's the same. I was able to see Miguel Barceló and his work when he was a very young artist. So this commitment, when I go to a city, first my city in Paris, then London, then Madrid, has always been my love. It was contemporary art. And then because and then it came naturally because it was affordable, and because but you know, it was not about making a collection. It was about being in the artist gallery community, try to help them and then buy pieces. That's the way it has worked for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
it
always
was
very interesting to hear how it started, you know, because you've built an amazing collection now that that is very representative of an art scene, and the artists that you have been collected that were absolutely not known and now are becoming international artists. And
you remember, and Pierre, when I was talking to you about Adrian, and you know, and
yes.
because sometimes between North and South, they say, you know, where is this country, Argentina? What is she talking about? And you know what was happening for all those guys, but those artists. So, but I always was very linked to the French scene anyway, and international. You know,
yes.
In my memory, I have my international collection in my head.
You have to film your flat for the next now I'm going to address to Federico just before I'm sorry it's very late, but we had so much to talk about when we have like such an important art scene. It's a country, it's far away. You're all in Buenos Aires, some of Mark is in Brazil, but Catalina is already in London, so so she could escape Argentina. But Federico, do you think you can show the gallery around with your camera, or yes? Just before we say goodbye to everybody.
Quick visit to the.
So, oh yeah, we need. What do we need? What do I need to do in order to do that? Wait.
I can share my computer. I don't know.
If you talk, yeah, you're the only.
Here.
Yes, yeah, that works for me. I hope it works for you, all of you.
Here we are. I mean, we are seeing a lot of works from the different artists. Here you can see a very big Matthias Duville work. Look at the scale. It's about 3 meters. This is the last piece of Amalia's trench coat, actually.
The last one. Okay.
What else? Well, there are a very big piece of Matthias too.
Yes.
Nicanor Arauz, Mónica Girón. I don't know if I pointed. Yes.
What's her name on the wall?
Mónica Girón.
Girón. Okay.
I have in my collection as well.
A little Pombo, Marcelo Pombo's work. This is an Amalia piece. This too. Let me show you.
Yeah. Yes. Here we are back to seeing art in the gallery. That's fabulous.
Yeah. I mean, look at this. She worked with a lot of humor. You know, and cynicism and.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, thank you so much, Federico. I hope that you will come to. We still don't know that if FIAC is going to be there or not. But if it is, we'll certainly come and see you with the group. And also we are very happy that we had the pleasure to meet Catalina as well, and we are definitely going to see her in London in November. We can't wait. Actually, the gallery that is representing her will be Selma Feriani. So that's things to follow up. And thank you so much, Alexandra, for taking, organizing this and showing us your collection. I understand that you're working on a catalog, so we could, follow up the conversation on the catalog whenever you come to London, which you do regularly, either London or Paris. And so that was a very interesting moment. And if any one of you have more questions, you want to be in contact with each other, please contact me, and I will be very happy to to share. As Federico said, it's very important in those times to keep connected to each other and to diffuse culture and arts and artists, and especially avant-garde and young artists, because that's what we like to discover and to promote. So
and I would like to add something. Can I add that I hope that for Arte Bar, when COVID will be over and you will feel like a long trip but amazing trip, that one day we can have the BNC Club coming for the Arte Bar Fair and do specific studio visits.
That would be great. That would be great. Yeah. That would be great. All right. Thank you so much again to all of you, and have a great evening. And I think the weather today is like in Buenos Aires. Huh? It's cold. It's the same. In London, it's like cold and raining.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Attends, je vais parler à... Salut Alexandra, ça va? Tu m'entends?
C'est Isabelle?
Ouais, ça va?
Alexandra, elle est partie, j'ai l'impression.
Ah bon.
Attends, non, elle est toujours là.